Dame Andrea Jenkyns, the new Mayor of Greater Lincolnshire for Reform UK. Welcome, Andrea. A strange day, obviously. I'm sure that, we need to pass on our condolences and our thoughts and prayers to everyone on that plane.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's horrific, isn't it, to think what those loved ones who's lost all the people on the plane, etc., what must be going through. It's heartbreaking, isn't it?
It really is. But, amid the carnage, what an incredible story that a British guy survived. And you've seen that picture. He literally just walked away like he'd fallen off his bicycle or something. Just look, there he is. Amazing.
A miracle, really, isn't it?
Total miracle. Well, let's talk about what I got you on for. It's been a month since you were voted in as the Mayor for Greater Lincolnshire for Reform UK. Tell us about your first month. What have you learned?
What have I learned? That's a tough one, really. What have I learned? Well, I've learned that you can't always trust people, but I knew that in politics anyway. No, what I've learned is I've sort of take it seriously, and all eyes are on reform really at these councils that we've won, at these mayoralties, and it's our job as those who are elected to start giving hope to people really, and actually start delivering. So, it's been an amazing month. I've been everywhere, from businesses to meeting Angela Rayner and Keir Starmer. That was an interesting one.
Oh, how did that go?
I think there was expecting trouble, actually, because they had pre-wrote a press release having a go really at the saying that you're expected to take this role seriously to all new mayors, etc. I mean, as if we wouldn't. So I think they expected trouble, but actually Luke and I, it was about business as usual. And look, I want their money for Lincolnshire. I'll always hold them to account, but I also want funding for Lincolnshire so I can deliver on some of the things I want to do. So yeah, and I mean, today I was at the cereals, which is a big show for the farmers, and they really desperately feel let down by politicians per se, actually. And we know it's sort of like throwing the dog a bone, so to speak, with the announcements yesterday in the spring statement, but obviously it's only spending money on how the government wants the money spent. And it's very sad, actually, because speaking to a lot of farmers, they were telling me that there's lots of farms up for sale, family farms up for sale. They don't know how many are going to be around in 5 years' time. And, what about the food security of Britain? That was sort of a key message I took out today. And I feel that Labour's desecrating our British farms, which is tragic, actually.
Absolutely. I had this son, I don't know if you saw that story a couple of weeks ago about the farmer, 78-year-old farmer, who committed suicide. And it was recorded at the coroner that he did so in order to just beat the inheritance tax. Literally killed himself so that his kids could inherit his farm. So I had his son on, and I said at the time, I said, well, here's a message for Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves. When your policy is causing, decent people. This is a grandfather. He was a bell ringer at the local church. When your policies are causing a man like that to take his own life, you ought to have a think about them, don't you think?
Exactly. And they're really not listening. And because they're hammering farmers, and let's not forget, farmers have been hammered by the elements at times, and I know in Lincolnshire, we suffered flooding early on in the year, and lots of farm livelihoods got ruined, etc. But what we're finding now is sort of not a level playing field. I mean, I was talking today to the NFU, and they're not releasing figures or even looking at figures about how much grain is needed in the UK markets, etc. And farmers need the figures really so they can plan ahead with their crops. I mean, you get it in other industries, and apparently governments and even the Conservatives in the last few years haven't actually published these figures or been working with the farming industry, and it just feels like everybody's against them at the moment, as in government wise. And we've got to ensure that we support them. And another thing as well, I'm very skeptical about this. I'm sure you are, Kevin. they are incentivizing obviously people to have solar farms, and farmers are saying to me, we don't want solar farms, but our farm's not going to survive. What the heck are we going to do? And it does actually, I mean, we've got some of the best arable land in Lincolnshire, and it does actually feel that it's this crazy net zero agenda of Miliband and the Labour government and the previous government actually, but it's actually getting quite sinister, I think, because it's driving farmers out of business.
Yeah, that's that guy I had on. He said that the inheritance tax was incentivizing suicide, which was quite a statement. And if you think about it, that's why this guy did it. He did it. He beat the inheritance tax law by days in order to be able to hand his farm on. His 78-year-old loving grandfather, local, looking after it, carer for his dementia sufferer wife, pillar of the community, local bell ringer, killed himself so he could give his farm to his kids without the inheritance tax. They really do have to have, just like they finally got persuaded to have a look at the winter fuel allowance. Yeah, they have to look at the inheritance tax as well.
I don't think we should pay inheritance tax full stop. I think if you pay your taxes, you work hard, you should be able to leave your property, etc., to your children. I don't know what you think.
So I absolutely agree with you. Before we move on, because I want to get you, we're going to go to break fairly soon, but because I want to talk to you about the migrant crisis, because I know you've got in your area in Lincolnshire, you've got quite a few migrant hotels. Yeah. So we need to talk about that. But, we heard Rachel from Accounts yesterday, her spending review, which she says she's costed. I'm not so sure. I mean, in some ways, some people are saying, well, that was wild and crazy, and there's only one way she's going to fund that, and that's by raising taxes. But that notwithstanding, taking that into account, now in your new role, balancing the books is very, very important, isn't it? And not just saying you're going to balance in the books, because Rachel, it seems to me, is just saying it. Now, you must be, with the help, presumably, of Zia Yusuf and his Doge squad, you must be trying to balance the books there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but first of all, even before conversations with Zia, etc., I've said to the Chief Operating Officer of the Combined Authority, which is obviously what I chair, I want to see the P&L every month. I want to see anything over £500. I want to see what is being spent on, because we've got to be that frugal with taxpayers' money. And so, I mean, I'm used to doing that in business in my, previous careers, and we've got to keep an eye on public finances to that degree. Now, I've met with Zia this week. We had a Zoom as well with our Reform Council leader, and Doge is coming to Lincolnshire. So, I mean, I've heard some of the horror stories, which is not about Lincolnshire yet, but of other councils, which is going to be released over the next few weeks. And there's some real shockers there, Kevin.
I had Zia on a couple of nights ago, and he was telling me that. So he said there's going to be a few press releases. He said that will make your hair curl.
And I really hope, actually, that, this will make people stand up and take notice, because we need this in every public sector department, every hospital. There's got to be transparency. And to me, there's got to be transparency where civil servants' wages are concerned just as much as it is politicians. And because any pound that goes from the taxpayer, it should be accountable for.
And are you finding in Lincolnshire that a lot of money is going on, DEI, inclusivity, diversity? Are you finding that a lot of, shall we say, middle managers are earning extraordinary amounts of money?
Well, we're just working through that at the moment. However, and if you think that, I've got a very small team of about 8 people, it's Lincolnshire County Council who employs a lot more. And I mean, they're on temporary contracts, my team. So I'm going to obviously be looking at, how people perform, etc., what's right for the future of the Combined Authority. But no, the Lincolnshire County Council, I mean, as I exposed before, I think I mentioned it on your show previously, Kevin, the DEI officers have been rebadged up as different roles.
Oh, that's right. They gave them new names to try and trick you.
So I can't wait for Doge to come to Lincolnshire to see what more we find actually, because I'm sure we find DEI in a lot incorporated into other job roles.
Well, you keep us posted with that.